Hello, I've had a question about Unit 3, Lesson 3, the second part of limits, question number 8. And this is definitely a challenging question because it has two rational expressions and a radical in it. So first thing I always do is to check to make sure I do have a problem. If I put a 0 in, that's going to make it 0. We're going to be dividing by 0, so yes, we do have a problem. First thing I always do is get rid of two fractions and make it into one. So that means I'm going to need a common denominator here. So my common denominator, both terms already have an x, so I don't have to include that, but both terms are going to need a square root of 1 plus x. So my common denominator is going to look like that. Now my first fraction, my first fraction already has that whole expression, so the numerator won't change for that. The second one only has the x, so it's going to need the square root. It's going to multiply that top and bottom by that. And now this is my new limit. And everyone's thinking, oh, much prettier. We got one fraction, but we have some radicals. So again, I try to factor, and obviously with the square root sign in there, factoring's pretty much not an option. So that means all I have left to do is go to conjugate. That's all I really have left. It's going to multiply by the conjugate. It's going to be the conjugate of the numerator. All right, the conjugate of the numerator, because the bottom is a single term, and it's not going to help me get rid of anything. A conjugate creates a difference of squares, which hopefully will eliminate our issue. So if I multiply by the conjugate, top and bottom, the top is going to have no radicals in it anymore. That's the whole purpose of multiplying by the conjugate. So we end up with 1 minus, middle term would disappear. Now that last term, we've got to make sure we use brackets, just because that negative sign has to be distributed through. And I end up with 1 minus 1 plus x. On the bottom, with limits, never, ever, ever FOIL or expand. All right, it's all multiplication. I don't want to make the bottom term ridiculously ugly because we're already there. It is already ugly. Expanding it in is just going to make it worse. We want to leave it in factored form because the whole point is to cancel something through factoring. So doing distributive law undoes what you already want. You have it factored into 3 terms, so leave it as is. So simplifying or cleaning up that top, I know that 1 take away 1 is 0, so I'm left with negative x on top divided by x, square root of 1 plus x, 1 plus 1 plus x. All right, now, because it's all multiplication, like I said above, we're multiplying 3 terms together, so we can do cancellation. So that cleans that up. So the question then becomes, have we fixed our problem? All right, so we're going to reevaluate to see if I still have a problem. So if we let our x term go to 0, that term there is going to be a 1. That term is not going to be a 0. So that means we can go ahead and just simply calculate it. So that means that that first one is going to be the square root of 1 plus 0, so the square root of 1. I'm doing an extra step in here just to show the answer clearly. 1 plus square root of 1. So we have negative 1 on top, root 1, and then inside 1 plus 1. So we end up with negative 1/2 for a final answer. All right, so square root of 1 is 1. So that just becomes a 1. That becomes a 1. 1 plus 1 is 2 times 1. All right, so there we go. Definitely one of the uglier ones. Requires 2 pieces of our skills. We need to be able to work with creating one unified fraction and then using their conjugate to find that answer. So if you have any questions, need further clarification, let me know.